Under growing pressure from the emergence of heavily armed German heavy tanks, such as the Panther and Tiger, during the Second World War, many nations were compelled to reassess their tank design strategies to improve combat effectiveness on the battlefield. The United Kingdom, with its tradition of developing cruiser tanks, was no exception in seeking a solution that balanced mobility, firepower, and protection. In this context, the Comet I A34 cruiser tank was developed as a key advancement, offering a significant improvement in combat capability over previous British designs. Introduced during the final phase of the war, the Comet not only proved effective against Germany's formidable tanks, but was also regarded as one of the British Armed Forces' most notable achievements of the era, serving as a bridge to the development of the modern Centurion tank. The Comet A34 tank emerged from the urgent need to enhance the combat effectiveness of British armed forces in the final stages of the Second World War. Campaigns in North Africa and Normandy had exposed the shortcomings of earlier cruiser tanks, particularly the Cromwell, which, despite its mobility, lacked the firepower necessary to effectively counter German armor. A temporary fix in the form of the A30 Challenger also failed to deliver the desired results. In this context, the Comet was developed as a practical solution to boost firepower without the delays associated with an entirely new design. Leyland Motors, which had produced the Cromwell, was tasked with building the new tank, incorporating more powerful armament while retaining many of the Cromwell's core features to shorten development and deployment timelines. From the first wooden mock-up to the steel prototype, the Comet was completed in a relatively short period and entered mass production by late 1944. However, plans to field the tank were delayed due to technical adjustments and the impact of the Ardennes counteroffensive, which temporarily disrupted crew training schedules. A notable aspect of the project's direction was its choice of evolution over revolution. Rather than starting from scratch, engineers built on the achievements of the Cromwell, introducing targeted improvements to enhance combat performance. It was a clear example of a flexible approach adapted to the pressures of wartime. The introduction of the Comet marked a turning point in British tank design philosophy. Moving away from a focus on speed, designers began placing greater emphasis on survivability, combat effectiveness, and operational reliability. The Comet served as a crucial stepping stone, paving the way for post-war modern tanks such as the Centurion. The Comet A34 tank was equipped with the Ordnance QF 77mm high-velocity HV main gun, which had an actual caliber of 76.2mm. This was an improved version of the Vickers 75mm HV gun, using a technique ammunition design that combined the projectile of the 17-pounder with a shortened cartridge case derived from the QF 3-inch 20 CWT anti-aircraft gun. This configuration optimized ammunition storage and handling within the tank's interior. The 77mm HV gun featured a muzzle brake to reduce recoil, enabling more accurate firing under combat conditions. The Comet carried a total of 61 main gun rounds, primarily consisting of three types: APCBC, armor-piercing capped ballistic cap; APDS, armor-piercing discarding sabot; and HE, high explosive. Among these, the APDS round offered superior armor penetration, providing particularly effective against heavily armored German tanks, such as the Panther and Tiger. The successful development of a functional HV round for the 77mm gun also enhanced the system's versatility. Tests indicated that the 77mm APDS could penetrate up to 182mm of armor at close range and remained effective at distances up to 2,000 yards. Under certain conditions, this penetration capability was assessed as superior to that of the Panther's KWK-42 gun, and even the standard APCBC round used to be the KWK-43 L71 on the Tiger II. However, some field trials showed the 77mm HV was unable to penetrate the Panther's frontal armor, highlighting the influence of engagement angles, range, and armor quality in real-world combat. In addition to the main gun, the Comet was armed with two 7.92mm Besa machine guns, one coaxial and one mounted in the hull, with a total ammunition load of up to 5,175 rounds. The tank also featured a 2-inch smoke grenade launcher and, depending on the variant, could be fitted with additional smoke dischargers at the rear or on the turret. The Comet's armor represented a significant improvement over the earlier Cromwell series. The hull was fully welded, and the turret featured a lower profile and a cast gun mallet. Frontal armor on the hull was 76mm thick at the driver's position, with the upper glacis measuring 32mm and the lower glacis around 43 to 64mm. Side armor was 32mm thick, reinforced by an additional 14mm applique plate. Rear armor ranged from 25 to 32mm, and the rear floor was 14mm thick. The roof armor was 25mm over the front compartment and 14mm above the engine. The turret was protected by 102mm of armor at the front and gun mantlet, 64mm on the sides, 57mm at the rear, and 25mm on top. While the turret offered strong protection, the hull's step-like profile drew criticism when compared to the sloped armor of Sherman, and was seen as suboptimal. Later trials led to the addition of a 25mm sloped glacis plate, reflecting efforts to enhance frontal protection. The Comet was powered by a Rolls-Royce Meteor Mark III V12 petrol engine, producing 600 horsepower at 2,550 RPM, a derivative of the famed Merlin aircraft engine. This 27-liter power plant delivered a peak torque of 1,970 Nm, resulting in a power-to-weight ratio of approximately 18 horsepower per ton, enabling effective battlefield mobility. The tank used a Merritt Brown Z.5 transmission with 5 forward gears and 1 reverse, paired with an improved Christie suspension system featuring vertical coil springs. On roads, it could reach top speeds of around 51 to 52 kilometers an hour and maintain an average of 23 to 24 kilometers per hour on rough terrain. Operational range varied from 198 to 250 kilometers on roads and about 119 kilometers cross-country. The fuel tank held 530 liters. Ground clearance ranged from 0.46 to half a meter, allowing it to cross ditches up to 2.4 meters wide and obstacles 0.9 meters high. The tank could ford over 1 meter of water without preparation. The Comet had a crew of 5: commander, gunner, loader, radio operator, driver, and hull machine gunner. Combat weight ranged between 32.7 and 35 long tons. The hull measured approximately 6.55 meters in length, with an overall length of nearly 7.7 meters, including the gun. Width was about 3.05 meters, and the height remained under 2.7 meters. The internal layout was optimized for combat while maintaining mobility and weight in line with the expectations of new generation cruiser tanks. The Comet tank entered service in January 1945, with the 11th Armored Division being the first and only unit fully re-equipped with the type before the end of the war. Deliveries began in December 1944, with the Ardennes offensive delayed training and deployment until mid-January 1945. The Comet took part in the final campaigns in Western Europe, notably Operation Plunder and the crossing of the Rhine in March 1945, followed by the advance into Germany. Units operating the Comet, including the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, were also presented at the liberation of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp and later took part in the Victory Parade in Berlin in July that year. Designed to counter the Tiger and Panther tanks, the Comet was equipped with a high-velocity 77mm gun known for its strong armor penetration. However, by early 1945, German tanks have become scarce on the Western Front. One of the rare engagements between Comet and Tiger took place near Essel on April 12, 1945. Initially, 3 Tigers inflicted losses on the British forces, but the following morning, 2 Comets maneuvered to flank and destroyed 1 Tiger, highlighting the importance of tactical mobility and the APDS ammunition. Crews praised the Comet for its balanced combination of firepower, reliability, and speed. Although considered a significant improvement over the Sherman, its late introduction limited its participation in large-scale battles. A total of 26 Comets were lost during World War II, mostly in the final stages of combat. The Comet's strengths were most evident in fast offensive operations, fitting its role as a cruiser tank. Nonetheless, engagements such as the one at Essel demonstrated the ongoing threat faced by German heavy tanks. Due to the limited number of actual confrontations, assessments of the Comet's effectiveness rely more on technical specifications and positive crew feedback than extensive combat data.